minutes. So all of you online, thank you for joining. Obviously, everyone in person as well, equally, thank you for joining. Sia, you've got the first slide. If you wouldn't mind just going to the next one for me, please. Yeah, I think you got to get into the PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. Just going to then go next.
Okay.
Can I just move this chat?
All sorts of technical issues. Okay. All right. And that does say, is that the agenda there? Yeah. All right. Excellent. So this is an odd number month, which means normally we have a main presentation and a workshop. But today we've got a very special guest. We've got the folks here from IOCO, who are a Qlik lead partner. We've got Kevin, who's on my left, sales director at IOCO, and then our presenter, Schalk Blanche. He's going to be doing a presentation in a few minutes' time. I'll introduce him properly shortly. If you don't mind just going to the next slide. So that's the one and only presentation for today. Next slide there, please. And okay, just some Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't mind just muting yourselves, please, so that we don't have backward interference. And if you've obviously got a question, Sia is going to try sideways 90-degree angle monitor the Zoom chat. But if you get ignored, you're not doing it on purpose. Just unmute yourself and just talk, please. Anyway, don't worry about the rest of the Zoom etiquette about your name and things like that. That was normally for the prize, but I'll get to that at the end. See the next slide, if you don't mind, thanks. Okay, so that's the note that we said normally on the odd months, meaning September's an odd month. It's an in-person hybrid event, and normally there's a main session and then a workshop. We've got the main session. The full session is on Qlik. Just to remind you that next month is an even month, October. That's hybrid only, so there's not in person. And there normally it's BI flashes. We're also changing the sequence a little bit. Sia will be doing the BI news, and then the rest of the session is Michael doing Power BI projects and the GitHub integration and all the rest of the fancy stuff. Okay, so don't miss that either. Okay, next one, please. There will also be a November session, and then that will be the end for the year. Okay, that's the run up there. I've just basically covered that now as well. All right, next one, and I think that's basically it. Question. So that's my last slide. Except now, if you don't mind going page up, I'm going to get the actual title. So now let me introduce you to Schalk. Schalk is coming all the way up from Cape Town to be here in person. So thank you very much for that, Schalk. Schalk, as I said, is from IOCO, Qlik lead partner. He's been doing data and everything to do with data for at least 25 years throughout the entire data journey and the full stack. So we're delighted to have you here. You're obviously going to be talking about Qlik, and we're delighted that we're expanding our topics of discussion to other products. We did Tableau last month, and now we're doing Qlik this month. So, Schalk, I've got that short title there, but you had a longer one, but effectively unlocking the power of Qlik from data visualizations to AI-enabled insights. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Schalk. Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's good. My presentation up. Can you all see that?
We can actually try and share it with the share my cable from the Qlik share here. So that it will bring it up.
Oh, that'll be brilliant.
Yeah, so
yeah.
that,
I don't know if it works.
yes, it's maybe I think this side.
Yeah.
So what the guy set up, maybe I'll give a little bit of context so we don't lose more time.
Nice.
Basically, when Sven invited me, actually reached out by someone else. I went like, please, this can't be real. It's a hack. I'm not responding to this guy. There's no way Power BI guys gonna ask us to come and talk about Qlik. But thanks for being persistent. Here we are. It's real, and yeah. So I guess we're data people, right? We're all about getting value from data, which means there's a pretty long value chain, all the way from when it gets created, all the way through to when somebody makes a decision, and all the bits in between. So our view of it all is there's three main components. You need the data. There's the whole data integration, data platform side of it. There's the second bit, which is the technology. How do we take this raw data, turn it into something that's business ready? And then, of course, there's the final bit, which is the people getting the insights, interpreting, making the decision. And ultimately, that's the only value we could ever deliver, is an improved decision from data. So, yeah, so Qlik in 60 seconds. I'm going to try just to give you guys some background. Qlik was known as a visualization tool, right? Old Qlik View, quite a game changer, modernized to Qlik Sense, got bought by an American investment company. And so they've been on an acquisition path, and Qlik is something completely different now. I'll talk about a few highlights of the acquisitions. One of the big ones was Trinity. Trinity is actually the tech that AWS and Azure uses to do data replication. So they white labeled it, called it AWS Data Manager or whatever. So it's actually a very good piece of kit that replicates data batch and real time used by all the heavyweights. Okay, so along with that, they had Compose, which is a data warehouse and lake automation tool. So that next gen tool that does, if you can believe 70% of the manual coding to create a warehouse or a lake, it automates that. It's pretty good. It's used by some local companies like Sunlight, etc. Some of the other acquisitions was an AutoML company. So it does AutoML. Again, next gen tool. Most of the work there is done to actually get the right model to fit in the data to fit. So AutoML helps a lot with accelerating that process there. And so, yeah.
You're integrated as a service with AWS. I was at the summit and I saw your stand. I didn't actually go to your stand. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I know, but I thought that you guys are part of the AWS ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Qlik itself, they haven't created their own cloud. So their SaaS offering is on AWS. And then the data integration bits is, as I mentioned, it's actually the real software running behind some of these database and Azure bits. So, and SSI Yoko is an AWS implementation part. It's a different business division. It's a big department. So that makes sense. Last bit, a little bit over 60 seconds. It's just acquired Talent, which is a formal ETL platform. It does, ETL, data governance, data cleansing, catalogs, etc. So, Qlik data visualization tool, absolutely. Qlik's an end-to-end platform. So today we're focusing in on the technology bit. We're not going to talk data. If you get invited back, maybe we'll talk about those tools. Today we're talking about the technology bit, and after that we might talk about the people bit and data literacy. So yeah, that's it. I hope that gives some context. And then over to Schalk for the good stuff.
Yes, once we can get the screen shared,
we saw it there.
yeah,
Maybe
it's
sharing.
But it's not on
It's not
the.
on Zoom.
Sorry.
It's not in your sharing.
yeah, just load. Your share is loaded. So that is the screen and it is sharing.
So should I stop sharing?
Yeah, but if you stop there, you should be able to take over.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So that's stopped.
There you go, and now I should get that on screen as well. It's let's try this.
No, hold on. You're sharing. I mean, you're
Yeah.
broadcasting. Yeah.
Yeah,
But we can't see it. Is that,
Yes.
it's coming, it's coming. Hold on, something's happening there.
Oh,
There we go. Okay,
we're all going to need a beer after this.
right.
sorry about that. That's cool.
Good afternoon, everybody, and those online. Thank you for joining. Great. So from that introduction, while we were busy trying to make up time. I think one of the key things today, and if I just listen to some of the introductions that I had here earlier, we all work with data. Somewhere along the line, we've worked with visualizations. My background, I've actually started many years ago with data warehousing, thereof Kimball methodologies, and to me, then moving into the actual reporting side or visualization side, that is really where I enjoyed the technology that enabled me to convey a story to business. Now, I've worked with various technologies in my 25 years when I've worked with data. And to me today is really what I've seen over time. It's, yes, we have great technologies. Anybody here interested in photography or as a hobby? Now, normally what you will get is you'll get two types of people when it comes to photography. Those with a Canon camera and those with a Nikon camera. And what you've seen between those two brands is when they moved into a digital space, you would see the one had a better body. The other one has still great lenses. And then eventually the other one caught up with them. Because yes, we learn from the type of devices that we use. And the same can be said with technology. So today is really to show you not which one is the best or which one creates the best bar chart, pie chart. Are you guys using pie charts?
No,
Great. That's the right answer there. Oh yes, we've actually evolved. We now use donut charts. 100% correct. And that's exactly the same with our reporting technologies that we make use of today. Now, number one, right in the beginning, there was a slide to tell you that when we look at getting value out of data, we need three elements. The technology, and we have great technologies out there. You saw that the AWS event, excellent technologies. And then obviously the data. But the third element being people. And how do we actually ensure that people can use or can actually interpret data through the use of technologies? And what we do is we tell stories. We understand the data, we visualize it, we identify anomalies, and we share that. And I think that is an important part. Getting from that data, allowing technologies for us to get that story. And what I want to do today, and as you can see on screen, what I am showing here is the Qlik cloud as a software as a service. Yes, this is running on a AWS platform in Ireland. So we fall in the EU region. So if the response is a bit slow, it's because I'm connected through a mobile device. Hopefully we don't have load shedding because everybody goes into that tower. You see a dip in performance, but that is local. It is not our cloud tenant. Right. So number one is what I would like to do is talk a little bit about AI. Sure, guys. I take it in today's world, if we don't talk about cloud, don't talk about AI, we're not on top of the technologies out there. And that is really what I want to show today is how can we make use of that technology? So a couple of provisos here. I am obviously that connection through a 3G connection. The second thing is I am using three, and please don't laugh, it's three data files called Excel, okay, and one CSV file. It is a small set of data. It is clean data, so that I can do my demonstration. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to show is to upload it into the cloud. I'm going to start that process, but the process will be kicked off via augmented intelligence. Yes, we'd like to say AI. It's not artificial. We refer to it as augmented intelligence. So number one.
I was going to say, before you start, can you just minimize that one?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Great.
Yeah, thanks.
And so the first thing that I need to do is obviously start my new analytics application. And we'll call that Yoko for today. That is our company. So create that space for me now. And firstly, what it's going to do is it will start the process where I now have a choice. It would either be activated.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Are you running on an EC2 instance, or is it a serverless function that you guys have? I mean,
the cloud platform?
yeah.
It is a software as a service. So I have no idea what they provide to us. I log in. I've got software as a service, not platform as a service. That's what I'm showing you. It's a software as a service. Yeah. Obviously, platform as a service, yes, that we would refer to it as creating your private cloud. We also have capabilities to run the client manage on platform as a service. Right. So first things, it's going to give you some direction. Do you want to code? And most of us have probably done some coding. So yes, you still have that option. We're not taking it away from you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start discovering data. Because remember, I'm coming in from an end user perspective. I want to understand a little bit more of things that I've received, some data files, and how do I do that? Now remember, this instance is in the cloud, and what I am going to do is I'm going to actually select these 3 files and drag it onto that. Now watch me writing code, because yes, I used to be a programmer. I used to be that person sitting at 2 o'clock in the morning coding, because that's the best time, obviously. So you guys have seen me writing code here in front of you. Okay, so for those that's online, just to note, I have not touched my keyboard. I just use the mouse to drag those files across. And by default, what happened now is it actually did a bit of data profiling on my data itself. Okay. One of the files, you would say, Schalk, there's something wrong. I see 3, and you can look at those circles. It would be the equivalent of a table. So even if you connect to a SQL database or a database, you pull that in, that circle would be a table. Within that, you can now see at the bottom some of the values within that table to give you that quick view. Now, one of the things, I loaded 3 files, but in the one file, there were 2 sheets. Through the data profiling, it picked it up, and it actually created that 4th table that you can see on screen. Now, within this, yes, you can actually apply some filtering, you can apply some rules, but that's going to create your data load. But in this case, I'm now looking at the top section where through the AI component, it picked up that there are some keys or values that it would recommend I use to create an association. Association, you can think of it as a join, but in Qlik, it's a bit more powerful than your normal join. So I'm just going to say, you know what, I can see and I can read here on the right hand side what the recommendations are. And in this case, I'm just going to say apply all. And within that, through a graphic representation color, you can see what tables can and can't be connected. I'm happy with this. So all I'm going to do now is to say load data. So I'm happy with first step where AI look at data and make recommendations on how to associate data. Normally this takes about 20 seconds. Let's see. Oh, okay. We have a nice fast connection here. Great. So the next thing is, it's prompting me now to say, how would you now like to actually start with your visualization? Because what I've done, or what AI now did, was to load data, create a data model that I can now interrogate, or as I like to say, argue with my data. Because it's nice from a discovery point of view to actually get that data and start asking questions. So in this case, let's go to sheet. And this is where, may I ask whose mic is being picked up in this discussion? Yours. Okay. So I am going to, one of the key things is when I tell people, how do I know? Because one of the key things is natural language processing, NLP. And in short, that means I can type a normal question right here at the top, and the technology will interpret and apply that. But as a party trick, I normally try to use it on a mic. And what I'm going to do is to say, in this particular case, let's go to my Inside Advisor. And Inside Advisor will now give you some abilities to, if you choose, things that you would like to look at calculated measures out of my data. Would you like to look at ranking? Would you like at, and you can see there's a whole breakdown of potential ways that you can start looking at information. But what I would like to do is just type let's see if I can get this right. At the top here, you can see there's a mic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this mic and I'm going to ask a question. Because people normally ask me, how do I know it's the right question? Well, let's find out. That is through AI. Show me sales by category. I was just, by the way, for those online, no typing on my side. And what it did was to create my first visualizations. And from a discovery perspective, this is unbelievable. Because what am I doing here is, number one, I have a visualization here on the left-hand side. It did do what I asked, the sales by category. And it also applied by default a ranking, because now immediately through that visualization, we can see the monetary value of each category. It ranked it so that I can see my top category. So immediately I have insights right there. But it also changed my color coding on my measure depending on the actual value. If you can see that. So if I, right, so this is just for while I'm busy with discovery. The next insights that it's now showing me, and again, allow the technology to give me insights. Remember, as the people aspect, I can still decide whether I want to use this, yes or no. And in this particular case, on the left-hand side, I can see a breakdown by category. On the right-hand side, it shows me my total value, or from a monetary perspective. So now all of a sudden, I've got context on the left, the breakdown, but on the right-hand side, I can see the actual value, the total. Just below that, it also shows me that the top category is women's clothes with sales that is 38.2%. I'm sorry, I'm just showing my age to the side. I need to lean closer to the screen. So you can see there it shows me something additional. It shows me the actual percentage contribution based on on the left-hand side, the monetary value. So it's covering both sides all of a sudden, not just the value. And below that, typically you look at the 2080 rule, and what it's showing me here is the top 4 categories is making up 76.9%. Now, guys, this is just from working with AI to tell me, to provide me a bit of insight. I'm discovering data. So now I can look at this and I can say, okay, please add this to my sheet. I like this. And below, you can see there's a couple more visualizations that I can now select and I can add to my sheet. So as you can see, a lot of coding that I did there. I'm still in a discovery phase here. So I can now add additional things, e.g. city, show me some city information. The first time I asked the question, the second time I'm actually just selected city on the left-hand side, and what it's doing, it picked up city, spatial information, and it will probably create some additional views on top of that. Look at that, the count distinct city. Would you like to see that? I didn't ask it, it was clever enough to bring in measures, even spatial representation, that I can just add to my visualizations now. Right, so now that I've decided I actually have enough visualizations, I can step out of this. And ladies and gentlemen, in front of you while talking, I've created my first dashboard. This is now an interactive dashboard where if I go to a particular region, e.g., let's see that I selected, I immediately drill into that particular city, and the rest of my values now also updated to give me the context for the city that I've now selected in a visualization. What you have seen on screen, I went to a visualization and I interacted with that visualization. But I can go further and I can now, in any of my table selections, I can interact with any visualization and it will update accordingly. In this case, it also keeps track of what I've selected. And that really means it's keeping context the whole time while I'm actually engaging with data. Now, for those, are there any questions on visualizations at this stage?
Very
Great.
impressed so far, thank you.
Right. So, while we were talking, we loaded 4 tables through Data Manager. And so just clear this quickly. So, if I look at Data Manager, that enabled AI. The data model it created. And this is quite nice from I know it's sometimes a bit of a swear word. Do you guys use the word ERD within your business, especially from a technical perspective? Entity relational diagram, right? So I can see what's happening here. Great. I can actually interact. So number one is I can see my relationship between the tables. If I now want to look at something, e.g., I'm searching for profit, there I can see profit is in my orders table, so I can search and work with my ERD, and through that ERD, I can create a concept or create master items. Master items are objects that a person will create to enable self-service. And in Qlik's perspective, I call this governed self-service because we still keep track of your role, your access, what you're allowed to do, even down to a row level security on data. So if you're a manager of a particular business unit, and we could have one application that you're only allowed to see your business unit, that can be applied even at data level from an application. In this particular case, what I am showcasing here is about AI doing discoveries on data to enable me to eventually get to a point where I can convey a story. And that is how we start influencing and collaborate, talking about data. So what do we do at the end of the day? It's all about making better decisions on data. And what we did here was we allowed technology to do certain things for us. And what are those certain things? For those amongst us with a bit of a preference to code and variables and things like that, let me show you what happened while I was clicking. And no pun intended there. I know that's so if we now look at in the background the code that has been generated, and developers love this eventually when it opens up. Number one, it creates my system variables for me, in which I can now control formats of dates, things like that. The code that it generated right in front of you was 166 lines of code. This code can be used in any other application. I've tested this, and to me, that is really the essence of using AI. And now technologies, because yes, technologies evolve quite a bit. You'll probably start hearing about the use of or creation of data pipelines. That is the next focus area, because yes, we want to get data to business users, allow them to interact and again argue with data, so that they can actually explore and get insights into their own data. Now that arguing is quite a interesting concept. Why do I say that? Now within the technology itself, and Qlik's make use of a associative engine that's its secret. Now you can think of a reporting tool. A reporting tool uses SQL to actually extract data from your database. Qlik, extract, create a data model, but we talk about a associative query language. It brings in a lot more different capabilities that you can make use of within Qlik. With that, Qlik also, because it started off as a visualization tool, look at what's happening if I select a value. So if I select bath clothes, it highlights in green, and if there's additional data, it will show that in white. So we talk about Qlik with green, white, and gray. Green, my selection, white, still possible values that you have. Gray is excluded by that green selection. It's there, it's not excluded, it's just filtered out. And that allows for that argument that was now you pick up some anomaly where I've selected a particular region.
Were these tables linked before you brought them in, or did
that first part where I showed data manager,
Mm.
I uploaded, it made recommendations, through data profiling. I would recommend to use the following keys. What it does on profiling, it actually looks at keys, but Qlik and through the AQL also has an additional way of associating data. If you have two tables, and if column names are the same, you don't use any abbreviations, they are the same. Qlik will also highlight that as a possible association. And that's why I say you can actually do a bit more than just a normal joining of tables. So, nice possibilities.
Yeah.
And what it now does is that arguing data, so I can now work with my data, and if I see something is wrong, I can actually clear it, and I can say, but hold on, I want to look at this particular area here, what is happening, so let's just focus on that area. Drill in, oh, okay, that's interesting for this country, let me go out and look at another country, and that is where you start asking those questions. And in this case, when I say arguing with data, it's a good arguing because you ask questions to your data and you get answers immediately. It's very interactive of actually from a data discovery perspective. And I think that is where I will stop now and open for any questions.
Do you have a question? Yeah, go for it. And then after him, I've got a
Okay, so you drag the 3 files in, right?
Yes.
How do I update? I mean, because obviously I can't schedule a refreshy kind of thing on Power BI tool. But how do I get that thing to update? I mean, do I have to go and drag it? How does it know which file I've given it?
Yeah.
That just seems to be, I mean, it's lovely, but it's like, how do I automate that now?
Okay. So there are ways. So what I did was discovery using AI. So I uploaded, I got an insight into my data. I haven't looked at it before, and okay, so that's great. So now I can actually, if you imagine taking a file from a SQL database and into Excel and you upload this, play around with it, and you get this insight. Now you can actually formalize that, and you could, even from a cloud tenant, connect to a local database through a data gateway. So it's secure communication. When you have that more operational process now in place, you have a scheduler for that application to reload the data on whatever time you would like to do it. So the part that I showed today was the discovery part.
Yeah.
So yes, you can still connect to various databases, whether it's on-premise, whether it's cloud hosted. One of the key things in the beginning, when I said I want to use data manager, one of the other options is where I can use a connection to a formal database and integrate that particular database. So that's why I said in the beginning, I'm a business user. I want to do discovery. I don't have the ability to connect to database. So I get insights into my data, and now you can actually convey that or take that message, pass it on to your IT department, your BI department, and formalize that process. Because now, yes, we do have changed rule processes in place to get that into a production operational system.
And your acquisition of talent with a D in there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's your ETL super functionality software, is that right?
At the moment, talent will fit into the data integration platform. Now, within data integration, we have the replicate that can move data from between databases in real time. That's data movement. Yes, we can do that. And then there's the ability to use Compose to build a data warehouse or a data lake. Where talent will fit in is the part where we start looking at data governance, master data management, and data quality. So also a user interface where you can set what it should do. So the focus there, and talent also brings in a lot more APIs. Because what we've seen is from a cloud perspective, all of a sudden there's this standard connection between systems through APIs. That opened up a whole new way where technologies can now communicate between each other through those standard APIs. I mean, e.g., if I have a system and I'm running out of stock, I can already, through an alert, identify that, and it can pass through orders to your other systems, and there you go. So we see a lot of that coming in now. Talent also has that huge list of APIs where I can see bringing that in. We see even more endpoints that's now available out there.
And then that concept of green, white, and grey, I've heard that before. I just can't quite remember that. Maybe you can just show us.
Can I maybe mention just something there, Rob?
Yeah.
So I think it's critical, right, to the Qlik experience. I think most people in BI think in terms of query, SQL query language, where it brings back a perfect data set based on the query. So if you have a perfectly formed question, a SQL query will bring back that subset of data. Think of Qlik's engine like a full item joiner. So everything is still associated with everything. It brings back all of the data, but it highlights the data that you selected as the green. Okay. The other things that you could have still selected that's still associated is white. And then the interesting part is usually the discovery, or sometimes the discovery is in what was not selected. For example, I want to see all ladies' clothing sales in that particular region I selected for a period. It brings back that data set. The more interesting question might be, which branches did not sell this particular set of clothes I've selected? That would be in the gray. And that would be excluded, and you still have full visibility of that. And I think a lot of people are used to the Qlik analytical experience. They love that because it gives the insights, the unexpected insights. It answers the why question to what's beyond the perfectly formed question that you've asked. How does that work? Maybe you can show an illustration.
Yeah, so on screen, I'm going to ask you to focus just on the bottom part, that is standard reporting tools. And those reporting tools, what they normally do is they allow the end user to add certain parameters, e.g. a date range or a particular region. And when they say submit or refresh, what happens is it creates SQL on the user computer. SQL gets passed through on the network to your actual database. It will build that query, execute that query on the database, and it will return the result set. Once you have that result set, oh, I made a mistake, I need the previous year as well. Yes, you can refresh, you add the previous year, you resubmit. So what you have is you have your end user network database and a continuous flow of data. Qlik So by illustration, so if I look at this, each condition that I add will remove data from my result set. So as an example, if I only select Argentina, you can see what is happening is the rest of the countries are now excluded, and it shows me the rest that's still available. If I now go and say I want to look at sportswear as an example, what it will do is it will remove that from my result set, and I get less and less data in the result set. And one of the things that you sometimes get is if you have null values in a field from a database, or a blank, or a space, that will be excluded by default if you use conditions. So you never see those transactions. Whereas, so you can see that data now, I can only work with that result set. Now, I'm going to do the same at the top with Qlik, and it's because of that associative engine that it allows you to do this, and it allows AI to give you insights on the 2080 total contributions, because all the data is still there. Yes, you can see that as filters are being applied. So in my case, if I now look at the top using AQL, if I look at Argentina and I select that, it is now highlighted in green, and it always keeps filters at the top. Because yes, you can also change that to say exclude what I have selected. So the inverse can also work here. So what you can see in Argentina, immediately Al Bundy didn't sell anything in the actual whatever I'm looking at. But why is that?
It's a shoe guy, right?
Yes, yes. And now I can find, oh, yes, he's a salesperson. They were on a team building event for a week in Las Vegas. No wonder there are no sales. I didn't ask where they were or what's happening. Purely because of my selection, I can see that he was excluded. And now I can ask the next question. Why didn't he do any sales for that particular period? And that is that argument data. But okay, so is it true if I look at Austria, if I look at Belgium? I'm selecting it and now it changed. Oh, hold on, he probably moved to another country. That is the insight that I didn't ask it. I'm actually looking at filter or some values, and I can see purely by that white and gray things happening that could lead to more questions. And to Kevin's point, it actually indicates questions that you haven't even asked yet.
Nice. Are there any questions here in the chat there? Otherwise, I've got one or two more.
Yeah, I did prompt just to find out if anyone has any.
People are feeling shy out there.
So yeah, just for those of you that are online, please feel free to put your questions on the chat, or you can also unmute if you have any questions. So yeah.
As long as there's not a question now, please unmute the presenter.
What is the SaaS licensing for Qlik then?
Yeah.
You said it's a SaaS service, right? So
Yes.
you're no longer doing, are we doing per user licensing, or is it still capacity-based licensing?
You have different options. What I'm showing you on screen, I'm a professional license. So you get the professional license that can create. So remember that word create. Then you have a
Create or developer, create or
create,
user create.
Create, developer, and create power users. So both sides, developers, IT, BI team members, super users. I don't know what you put them in your team, but yes, if they create, they need a professional license. The next level is analyzer. Analyzer, there's a data model being created for me. I only apply selections or filters within an application that has already been created. So I interact with data. I can still ask questions by applying and what I'm showing on screen here. So that's analyzer. Then you have analyzer capacity, which is then based on still just viewing, but is based on an additional factor, time-based. So yes, see it as your subscription to your cell phone. You have X number of minutes that you purchased, and then as you use that time, so typically people or Salesforce on the road, they don't sit in front of a computer, but they stop and they just need to go in and get some information. So they would log in, use time-based consumption, get their information, and they can then carry on with their work.
So can you increase your time or whatever?
Absolutely, yes, you can. So you normally buy a package of 1,000 minutes, and then people say, what does that relate to? Now, from a Qlik perspective, and I'm not going technical, in the sense that when I log in, it will start using your first a consumption package of 6 minutes, and you can then work with it. So if you expand that and you go to 12 minutes and you're actively using it, it will now be the next 6 minutes. So it's using packages of 6 minutes. Okay, but now the next question is, but what if I'm not doing anything? Great. So Qlik, but first log in, you now be authenticated, you use it for 6 minutes. And if you don't do anything thereafter, you're going to 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, normally from a browser perspective, it will then stop your actual session. But even up to the 30 minutes, you only use 6 minutes. There was no other activity in your session. So it's not that it's trying to use up all your time, it's allowing you just go and get your information and you can carry on. So yeah.
And then the new model is a consumption-based model. So there's quite a bit of work around what are the newer tech companies doing. So they're basically saying, give it to 30,000 people. Everybody's got a license, but it's how much you consume. So if you have somebody that uses a lot, there's these buckets of consumption. So it's got options. Typically, your small organization, they'll still want that user license or time-based licenses, easier to control. And larger organizations are saying licensing is prohibitive. We want to give everybody access, and the more you use the more you get charged. So I think, those are 2 lines.
So just to your point there, Kevin, do you have like a pool of the minutes for the whole team that you consume from as a team, or does each license get its own minutes?
The named users are named users.
Yeah.
So they have a license, they can use as much as they want. And then you've got pools of minutes. So everybody's in this bucket. It's got a great
That analytics capacity.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You buy a 600-minute package item.
and
Yeah,
it's
yes.
got everybody in this bucket. And then you'll see the usage, like this guy's using too much.
So you can
Email
split it
license,
per
this
department
guy
or
is-
something as well. Like let's say the sales department, you need X amount of minutes and
Well, you can track usage, so there is a
Okay.
monitoring tool, and the nice thing about this is if you see somebody use all your minutes, you can actually then assign a full analyzer. You can assign it, and that's with immediate effect, by the way. So yeah, so there's no quarantine period on licenses or anything like that. And it allows you to monitor the environment, especially from an administrative perspective, and it also allows the end user to make use of the correct license. Which in this thereof, you might have a person with a full name analyzer accessing the application once.
I like the, sorry, I like the time-based option, obviously under certain use cases, because you might have lots of users who use it very infrequently.
Yeah.
And now you can avoid having to buy each of them a license or not using it that often.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was a big problem in the previous generation of licensing models. We restricted how many people could use good analytics because licensing is good against it. So I think this new generation of licensing models can help propagate and democratize and then hopefully.
Now, obviously, as you know, many of us are Power BI users, not all of us, but some of us are new to Qlik. How could we explore and dabble and try things out? Is there a trial period? How does that work?
Yes, you can request it in the cloud. They'll probably give you 30 days. That's only the evaluation period. So always a bit of a challenge because we don't normally have 30 days to just play that environment. So I think if you get to that point, you can play. You don't want to evaluate. Yes, there is a evaluation period, and with your instance, that you can work with. Yeah.
and obviously today we looked at a very thin slice of Qlik. We looked at Qlik SaaS as an end user experience. We didn't look at the developers or that's a very different. We didn't look at AutoML and look at advanced none of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I think it might not be a bad idea because AutoML is included with some limitations. You can only productionize one model, you can only use 100,000 cells. But it gives you the opportunity to go and build your advanced analytics models, test it, give it to business to play, like this one's good. We'd like to apply this churn model and then it's unlock.
Just on the point out, for Power BI users, you can even in the cloud tenant have a link to your Power BI server. So I'm in my Qlik cloud tenant, so you can now see where this is going. It becomes a BI portal. So I can have different links and maybe no, I'll see if I can actually open it up now. Just to prove to you that it's possible. I don't know. Authenticate or something. Because obviously I do have a license to Power BI internal to our company. So what I'm going to do now is to actually open a link to a Power BI application.
Yeah, that's important. Just because I mean, many companies have some Power BI, they've got some Qlik, they might even have some Tableau, you know, and they've got it all there in the mixture.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
I think the visualization, pure visualization reporting side is becoming a bit more generic and standardized. Everybody's pretty good with visualizations, the basic queries, etc. So yeah, I think you're right. You show people out. Different things for different purposes.
You store your generated model between sessions. So once I import something, then and I log out and then I come back again, is it stored on your server or something?
In the cloud server, sorry, while it was busy, I clicked on Power BI in the cloud and there it's opened up.
Yeah, there's done that job.
Yes. And by the way, this is the same data as I showed in the other application. So yeah, just to show you Power BI and Qlik. And I think that's important part is to allow people to work with data through their preference for technologies. And I think that's the important part is enabling users. When you, in my case, I am the administrator of a tenant, so you saw a lot of applications and a lot of things there. So what happens is once you create an application and you have a personal space where you can develop, and that is you, the only person that can see it. So if you now log out, you come in tomorrow, it's still there. Okay. If you promote that, I mentioned that earlier, you change the approval process. Because remember, it's strange, we on one platform. So how do we allow development, UAT, and production in one platform? I think we'll get some eyebrows lifted here. Okay, in that case, we handle that through spaces. And in the space, so you have your personal space where you can develop. Once you are ready with that application, you can promote it to a shared space, and you can then invite a couple of people to that shared space to do UAT on that application. Once it's ready and it's been signed off by your CAD process, you can then move into a managed space. In a managed space, it is a production environment, cannot change or edit that. Data model.
Maybe I'll add, I think another dimension is here, it's sort of implied, I think it's a hybrid company. It says you're going to have some stuff in the cloud, you're going to have some stuff in multiple clouds, you're going to have some stuff you can't move to the cloud, especially in Africa. And so that becomes the one interface. The end user doesn't need to know if it's Power BI, Qlik for your Qlik Sense, Qlik for client management, Qlik Sense SaaS. Different type of capabilities, but it means one space to look at it. So I think that's also one of the things that are interesting is about hybrid, sticking to hybrid.
Any questions there?
None that have come through
Wow,
from the
very
chat.
quiet, very
Yeah.
quiet.
Are they normally this quiet or?
If we don't actually, to be honest, we don't normally have such a small audience. And I had a couple of people email to say I'm not feeling well and I'm, whatever. And in fact, Johan was saying the same thing. So I
But
think,
also you're in the middle of holidays, most
Yeah.
government schools have just gone on holidays.
Yeah.
I don't know who's.
so that's why I think it's particularly quiet. I mean, we literally have never had so few people. So apologies for that. But I mean, obviously for anyone online, if you can stick around, we've gone past 6 o'clock. Here in person, we're going to continue on. I do want to just formally close off the meeting just for those who need to drop off. Just to say, obviously, thank you, Intellect, for providing the venue as usual, and hopefully the pizzas are outside the door there somewhere. And thank you for everyone who joined online and in person. And then a very, very big thanks to the speakers. Kevin, obviously your input, we've really enjoyed that. And in Schalk, I actually found your presentation very insightful, very intriguing. I would really like to try out the functionality. And as you said, that's just the end user part, but obviously there's developer parts and whatever. Love to try it out and see.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Nice meeting some data people.
And I suppose I can now stop doing.
Just one other question. So does your the data that you're querying, does it stay on your premises or does it get imported to some cloud server somewhere? Or like do you query it in situ, like on the customer, or do you import it and query it in your
So there are different ways, and number one is what I showed you when I dragged and dropped. Those spreadsheets was actually uploaded to my cloud platform, and I can now work with it there.
So they're sitting on your server somewhere,
in Ireland. So that's now there. Because now I can interrogate that, I can actually share that with other people, and they can also now work with, because I've uploaded once. So that means that part is there. This data is sorted now is there. Obviously, if you go into a more formal process where you have on-premise database, let's say SQL Server hosted here, that is the part that I've mentioned through Qlik Data Gateway.
So Qlik Data Gateway.
And that is a secure connection between so that component is installed internal to your network. And there's a secure communication, and I think one of the TLS 1.2 Qlik supports that. I don't think some of our companies even here knows about 1.2 based on 1.0. So Qlik's already way ahead of that. When you just to mention something else, there's another region in America called US government region. Now, this is Defense Force, everybody using that tenant. I will ask the question, do you think they would use something like that if it was not secure? Think about that question. So from our perspective, secure connectivity, your data still remains on site. When you load it in memory, in that session, when you interact with it, you close it, it clears memory. So nothing else can actually, even if it's loaded in memory, can read your memory on that server. Different concept, but
sorry, does that mean it's querying? Okay, it's got it in memory. Okay, so it does it like an initial
load.
Sort of load, and then it's using it in memory, and then you close it, and then it goes back to what stays where it was.
Yeah,
right. That's interesting.
I think what we're seeing in some of the larger customers that things get a bit more complex is they do like the hybrid approach, bringing into a practical space. So particularly some countries, some data you can't move off. So it's limiting them in terms of a single environment with all of the data. So let's say there's certain data that stays there. There's maybe an auto project that want to run in SaaS, and there's some big workloads that they want to move to SaaS because they don't want to build compute for that. So from so they'll run different workloads in different environments, depending on legislation, requirements, peak loads, and be able to use a single license for the different environments. So it's sort of a unified licensing model. So I won't know that I'm jumping to the SaaS tenant now for this particular dashboard, using the on-prem to this particular dashboard, or using the different tenant for a different dashboard, which is interesting, yeah.
Why don't we keep asking questions, but yeah, eating talk.
Joking about the pizza. Doesn't show that pizza.
Just
Raw.
to ask about that question about now the data moving. So do you have a limit cap in terms of how much data can be moved based on licensing in memory for that processing?
Yeah.
And what is the cap on that? Obviously, I think it might differ based on licensing.
So what's happened with Qlik and the professional analyzer? It's now focused on the actual usage capabilities and not on the number of volumes, the number of applications. So all of a sudden, you can now have 1,000 applications in the cloud. There's no limit on the number of applications, and each one could be a different data model.
Okay.
But with that, there is a fair use policy that Qlik monitors, and that fair use policy, the standard subscription would allow you to load an application with 5 gigs in memory
Per application.
per application. It is a guideline, not a limitation. Okay, why do I say that? If you end up with applications bigger than 5 gig, then you have a different subscription, but it comes at cost.
Makes sense.
Your standard subscription allows you unlimited applications at 5, even the data that gets uploaded, as long as it's 5 gig in memory, no problem.
So if you go into the next licensing type, is that like an auto scaling, or do you set that up to say cap it for me so that I don't incur the charges?
It will be monitored, and Qlik will then say, we've noticed that you've got an application that actually exceeds the 5 gig. I would look at the data model, or you need to go to a high level. Yeah.
Yeah, and the management tool is quite cool. It does give you a lot of insights on that, anticipates that, and typically when our customers move to SaaS, they have a very clear idea of which apps are running, how many of those are going to be the 5 gig to 10 gig range.
Yeah.
Can we modify those apps? Like, is it still fit for purpose? And if it is, you know, then we'd have to make provision for that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
And I can use any cloud provider, Microsoft, AWS,